Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brian. If you're new here, this is Hogshooter Hot Rods, and we got this C10 truck back here. I'm sure everybody's getting either really excited to see it get finished, or you're really tired of seeing the same videos, just about it, and me working on it. Today I want to do something a little bit different, and I want to talk about what it costs to build the rear differential in the truck. Took a 12-bolt truck rear diff, and we went through that thing completely. All new bearings, cleaned it all up, and got it, back to new pretty much. I did a lot of looking and a lot of hard thinking about where and how I wanted to buy these parts. I had shopped on Amazon, and I know everybody, and me included, associate Amazon a lot of times with inferior or cheap parts, stuff made in China, those kind of things. And that's just not the case with the stuff that I ordered for this. And I don't think anyone out there could beat the price from the company that I bought my parts from. So, hey, enough of me talking, just rambling. Let's look at the stuff and what it costs. The big thing that I've got here is this Yukon gear and axle setup. It is their posi carrier, and I'm not going to debate what unit's the best or anything like that. This is what I purchased for the truck. The kit that I purchased came with this differential and a 4-ounce bottle of the friction modifier. Okay. Right there, you've got to use that. This says use non-synthetic oil. So we bought a non-synthetic gear oil for it. The kit also included, has this company, US Standard Gear bearing kit. And you can see there's parts in here that I didn't use because I bought a whole nother set to re-bearing the rear diff a few years previous, but there were parts included in this kit to be able to fully assemble your rear diff with all new bearings. And the bearing brand was Koyo that came in the kit. So they're one of the big suppliers of bearings. And this was the other card of parts there. So you had the 2 bearings for the pinion, the 2 bearings for the carrier are still here. A new crush sleeve, which I used a new one out of the other kit that I had previously bought. And I ended up using my 2 pinion bearings because I made a set of setup bearings out of them. The setup bearings normally would cost you about $40 per bearing. Then you can have 2 of them on that pinion you can slide off and be able to set your pinion depth up easily without having to press bearings on and off. Came with all the carrier bolts. I did use those. So I have bearings, I have a carrier. Kind of the wild card out of this deal is the gear set, because it's in a black box. There's not really a name on the gear set. So time will tell how that wears, how it holds up. The gears looked very nicely machined. They set up with no tight spots or loose spots. The pattern came in just like they were a OEM gear set. So with this, I've got the carrier, the gears, the bearings to put it in. Some other stuff that you're going to need, unless you have a super low mileage truck, is an axle bearing and seal kit. Now I bought this from Rock Auto. Okay, you could go to your neighborhood parts store and you could buy these parts, but in my experience, they're 20 to 40% more expensive if I do that. So, hey, I'm trying to save money just like everybody else. I bought these from Rock Auto, and they were good. They were also Koyo brand bearings. The seals were quality seals. The company that I ordered my gear set from, it's Quick Performance. Okay, so there's their web address, their phone number, and a flyer from them. Looks like a lot of 4 to 9 inch parts there, but they they had everything for this 12-bolt truck rear end in stock, and it shipped really quick, nicely packed in a good box. So I was able to get all of that. The gear set cost, to my door, $611. That's right, $611 for the gears, the bearings, the carrier, all the stuff you needed other than those axle seals and brake parts. I mean, I know these C10 trucks are super popular and guys are putting disc brake kits on them all the time. There's tons of those out there, and you can expect to spend anywhere from $400 to $750 for disc brakes if you wanted to add that into your build sheet for one of these trucks. I did not. I'm staying with drum brakes on this truck. I'm not trying to build some kind of quarter-mile king or anything out of it. I want a nice street truck with the proper gear set to work with my overdrive transmission. So at any rate, quick performance, good company. They got the stuff in there. It cost me $611. Rock Auto. I bought the bearings for this from them, and they cost me $42 to get the 2 axle bearings and 2 axle seals. And then my wheel cylinders cost me $26. Okay, so if we added that together, just real quick, big round numbers, we're under $700 there for my complete assembled rear differential with the posi lube in there. And then I bought a couple of quarts of gear oil just at the tractor store because I know I'm going to run this thing. I'll probably run it 200 to 300 miles, and I'll go ahead and change that gear lube out and add another bottle of that posi additive. You're supposed to do that, okay? Brand new gears, you can only drive it for so long, and those gears are getting really hot because they're the machine surfaces haven't lapped together fully. So you're supposed to drive it maybe 20 miles and let it cool completely back down to ambient temperature. Start it, drive it a short distance again. And I believe 3 to 4 cycles of doing that, and you got your gear set broke in. Then you can take off and make a longer trip. I know I was talking with some guys in a drivetrain shop in Tulsa, and they had just rebuilt a rear end for a guy in a 55 Chevy Nomad, and new gears, bearings, everything. He took off and drove 2 hours in the car, and he ruined a brand new set of gears because they got so hot that they actually turned blue and cooked the gear oil. So they had to replace everything that they had just put in there because the amount of metal and stuff. So you want to make sure on a fresh set of gears to go through that proper break-in procedure. It's just like a motor. So some other things, my housing was really dirty, so I ended up spending $5 at the car wash to get that dude clean. I wanted it clean enough that it was like I was building a motor, so that there's no crap floating around in there. I showed in my videos on this rear end the amount of metal in the gear oil that came out of it, so that metal is floating free throughout that housing. So you better wash it out really, really good. See a ton of videos out there on YouTube. Guys are changing gears in the diff, or they're changing axles and axle bearings, and they don't ever clean the thing out. And to me, that's asking for trouble later on. I mean, I'm not there in their video looking at that gear oil. That's going to be your analytical tool. You're going to pull that gear oil out and look at it and see if it doesn't have any metallic particles in it and everything looks clean inside. You could probably go ahead and just build your rear like that. But if it has metal in it, you better be cleaning that thing out super good. You know, I use the car wash. You could use brake clean, I guess, and just spray bunches of it in there and swab that thing out really good with shop towels. It was easier for me to haul it into the car wash and wash it up really good. All right, so you got all your parts bought, your housing is clean. I had to buy an extra set of bearings for my setup. That's another 80 bucks. And then grind those out. And then I've got to put races in. So I think I showed these on the video. I mean, I just took the old races, and to make it easier to hit the races, I just welded a flat washer on them. And you can see that one's kind of concave now, because it takes some force to get these races driven in the housing. But using this guarantees I'm not going to mess up that inside part of that race. So I have the two for the pinion bearing there, both of them built. I mean, for the other stuff, I used a range of different sockets and pieces of pipe and that kind of stuff in my press. You know, if you don't have all this stuff handy and you're going to build several rear ends, well, it's worth rounding it up because it's going to save you quite a bit of money. I also had to buy an inch-pound torque wrench. It's made just to read rolling torque. And this one, I bought it on Amazon, but it's not a cheap piece of crap. This thing is Precision Instruments. It's accurate. It says to 2%, and there's the important thing. It says made in USA right there. So that was $142, okay? Then I did not have a torque wrench, believe it or not. I couldn't find my dad's, so I went to Harbor Freight and I bought this little cute thing here, and it'll basically take your ratchet and turn it into a torque wrench. This is a torque reading device, and it had really good reviews. I think it worked really good on my project. I would buy it again. It was 30 bucks, super cheap to do this with. And then I already had this set up, dial indicator, magnetic base, to measure my backlash. You've got to do that. You've got to measure the preload on the pinion bearing. If you aren't doing those things when you put your rear end together, it's probably not going to live very long. I mean, you can grab the old wristometer and hope that you can read that rolling torque accurately, but you're probably going to come up short one way or the other. So with those things added in there, I ended up with under $1,000 basically, $851, not including the dial indicator, because I already had that for degreeing camshafts. So that's pretty expensive. I mean, when you think about it, this rear diff has still got drum brakes on it, and it does have everything brand new, all set up, ready to go down the road. $851, and I have a few tools that I'll be able to use on other differential work that I will be doing in the future. All right, so if you want to have a rear end rebuilt, what would it cost? I have some buddies that own a drivetrain shop, and my dad decided to take his truck because it was an open carrier 2003 2500, so that's like a 14 bolt and a semi-floating axle. He wanted a posi unit in that rear end. He used the old gears, but he did have them put all new bearings in it and bought a brand new carrier for it, a GM style carrier, but it was not a General Motors brand. So Dad ended up spending $1,200 on the carrier, all the bearings, getting it set up, you know, paying the labor, having somebody else do it. So on this project, we come out at $851, okay? And we had to buy gears, the carrier, all the bearings, and the tools to do it with. So I think that's the real benefit from the video, is being able to see that if I had to pay to have it done and I needed all this stuff, I'm gonna have a crap ton of money in a rear differential. If I have some basic mechanical ability, and maybe you got a buddy that can help you, you can come out quite a bit cheaper and end up with the tools to work on more differentials, more things, do more stuff. That's what we need to be doing out in our shops, is more work on cars, just putting stuff together, building them, building friendships as we go. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Just me rambling and talking about this, but like I said in the beginning, I haven't seen a lot of comparisons done where they actually talk about price, and maybe that's something that's taboo. But hey, I had to buy all this stuff out of my own pocket. It took part of the fiat money to buy the pieces for this rear diff. So that's where I'm coming from, and I want you guys to all be informed. So thanks so much for watching. Don't forget, give it a thumbs up, post notifications on, share the video. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys.